Hi, my name is Gene, and I started Clear Grain Company to solve a problem that you have probably never even heard of, unless you're a farmer. Imagine you go to your fridge to prepare a meal and you find that all the food is spoiled and full of bugs again, because it happens every 10 to 20 days on average. Now imagine a world where that is the best refrigerator that you can buy. That is what faces the grain industry right now. This is the farmer's refrigerator. That silo, he has to put all of his grain up after harvest so that he can sell it months or years later to get a commodity price he can actually survive on. And he's facing 5 to 10% losses every year. That's a terrible business. I don't know how they can survive that. And it's much worse south of the border. 500 million tons of grain get spoiled, thrown away every year. That's tons, not pounds. That's worth $75 billion in wholesale prices. It happens on ships. It happens on trains. It happens in export facilities, in granaries. It happens in storage bins on farms. So just fumigate, right? Well, the best current technology is phosphine fumigation. It's what everyone uses. It's toxic and corrosive. Pests are more and more resistant to it every year. More and more countries are banning it. And fundamentally, it cannot treat half of the problem, which is fungus and bacteria, which causes odors. And worst of all, phosphine fumigation takes 7 to 10 days at most facilities. That is a killer if you are in production. And did I say current best tech? It was developed back when the Model T was on the road 85 years ago. So I developed a V-CO3. That is vacuum, carbon dioxide, and ozone in a carefully cycling stage of steps to give you 100% pest and pathogen kill. It'll degrade the mycotoxins. It'll even get rid of odors like geosmin. And it'll do it at a lower cost. But best of all, we're talking 2 hours instead of 7 to 10 days. That's over 40 times faster than the current technology. How can I possibly develop something like this when people have failed for 85 years? Well, it's a vacuum application, which is not obvious. And I've been in vacuum applications. 7 years ago, I was the country's top guru in industrial vacuum applications when I was working for a vacuum supplier. A guy came to me at a trade show booth. He said, "Hey, can I apply vacuum to kill insects in grain?" I said, "Probably," but it took me a year. The last year and a half now, figuring out how exactly to make it work. And this is literally a game-changing kind of technology. So the market is huge, right? The opportunity here is giant. We're talking 55 billion just in North America, and that's just for grains. This is large farms, terminals like elevators, and then we have people who export in shipping containers. Right? 92,000 farms in North America are large enough to do 10,000 tons, that's 2 million pounds of grain per year or more. That's a huge part of the market. Then you have your terminals and your elevators and your export by containers. And here's the interesting thing. Most of these losses are actually covered by insurance. They don't like paying for losses. So they're very likely to mandate a new technology if it's good. And that could cause this TAM to be largely realized. And don't forget, there's 4 other continents that have as bad or worse a problem. So where are we right now? We're in phase 1, proof of concept. The concept is sound, but the data for cycle time and effectiveness must be gathered for the USDA to do their certification. This is as good as phosphine fumigation. And then Europe and Asia will follow. And then everything becomes easy. Just build and sell systems. You know, if you build 1,000 of these $500,000 systems every year, it would take more than a century to saturate this market. So right now, Clear Grain is just me. I intend to have a full team because it's way bigger than me. I have Eric Hartman right now on board as an external advisor to help me with non-dilutive funding. And I already have started agreements with the USDA/Kansas State University consortium to do the sampling, right? To send me samples that are inoculated and then do the analysis and documentation, and then start to work on the USDA certification after that. Super important. And where do the funds go? Well, first I have to convert my provisional patent to regular patent. That costs money, and then get the prototype built and start gathering that data for the USDA. So remember that fridge, right? It's going to cost you maybe a couple $100 to replace the food that spoiled in that fridge, but it costs the farmer $50,000 more. It could literally lose his farm or not be able to send his kids to school or something that year because of something that he faces as a 5 to 10% chance every single year. Look, these guys are the best hard-working people on the planet. They're supporting a huge part of Kentucky's economy. And do you remember that 500 million pounds? Sorry, tons? In pounds, that's 1 trillion pounds. 1 trillion pounds per year are lost. Think about that. The next time you buy that box of spaghetti, because it's basically grain. We can put Kentucky in the lead here. This is a project that comes around once in a lifetime where you can get involved. And this is something that can actually move the needle. This is worth doing. This is one of those projects. I can't do it alone. I need your support. So thanks very much for hearing me out. You must have questions because 7 minutes is just not enough.